I was kind of like, he's got to die, because any bad guy turned good guy is gonna get a comeuppance. And
Mm.
then so they
Your
were
inner writer
good
brain saw
about
it coming.
saying, you're gonna, around mid-season, you're going bye-bye, which was great because it allowed me to get another job. And then in terms of coming back, I knew the way that we shot the scene where he died, that they had that in their back pocket if they wanted it.
Mm, 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 mm.
I mean, what took you so long? And then cut outside of the van, guns going off.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
could
yeah.
have been killing the guards. They could have been killing me. So they had a kind of wild card that I was glad they used. It was nice to get that call to come back.
Oh.
And then when we came back again, I was still alive, but I was just like, oh, good, there's more. That one
But
was
they killed
harder.
you. They really killed you that time, right?
Well,
Didn't the last one? I'm reaching back here.
I was bleeding pretty badly, and we
Oh,
shot a headshot, which I'd never gotten to do before, which is really cool, on the ground, but they didn't use it.
oh, isn't that interesting?
Me and Shuring have had a thing on Twitter, actually, where I'm like, but I'm still alive. He's like, we actually buried your body under the Taj Mahal under 3,000 feet. I was like, but there's a possibility.
It is a possibility. How do
Yeah.
you think, you talk about, Sarah, like you were let go, because you were pregnant and having a child. And I mean, like, how do you guys think the like landscape of, I mean, the world has changed since, the mid 2005s. Like,
Mhm.
how do you think like the TV, like the landscape of TV has changed and where things are today? I mean, we've come a long way, right?
Sarah, we talk about that quite a lot on the
Yeah.
podcast, but Sarah, you can speak to it better than I.
No, I mean, I don't think so. I look, television itself has changed in really extraordinary ways. Um, Partly just technologically, right? Like when Prison Break was first on the air, if you didn't watch it live or watch the rerun the next week, you had to wait until the DVD came out. There was no streaming, there was no binging. And there was something very cool about that kind of appointment television because you sat and watched with your friends and family. You talked about it the next week. Now, with the advent of streaming, obviously, and this is news to no one, everything has changed. I think certainly for women, things have changed. We had one female director all first season of Prison Break, if I remember right. Um,
Karen, yeah.
Karen Gaviola, who's now the
Only
president
one,
of the
first and second
DGA.
season, we only had one.
Yeah. We actually had female writers, which, not 50%, but any representation at that point was cool. I think we have 3 episodes maybe in the first season of 22 episodes that passed the Bechdel test.
Mhm.
Um, so it's it's definitely changed, which is why I'm now directing as much as I'm acting and able to, participate in storytelling in a different way. And I think it's also a safer environment for women.
Mhm.
Not because ridiculous, egregious things don't still happen, but because you're not then looking around going, oh, I'm the only one on set. And so, like something happened on a different set. I was what, 5 or 6 years ago. Um, Somebody accidentally, a piece of my side boob ended up in the shot in a shirt. But the cameraman said to me very quietly, he's like, you might want to back up because the side of your boob is in the shot. And another actor overheard that and went on a tear and was like, we all knew that that's how you got this job. And, you
Oof.
audition on your knees and whatever. And I was just
Oh,
like,
fuck.
I was so taken aback. I was like, wait, really? But before I could even have a reaction, my first AD was like, I've called the producers. You don't need to worry about this.
Mhm.
I'm like, he was shaking. He's like, I have a fucking 3-year-old daughter and I want to murder someone. I was like, cool, let's take it down. I'm directing. We have a day to get. And that, I was so grateful to him because I was like, ooh, when somebody says that kind of thing to me, I feel alone. When you stand up for me, I feel like I've got an ally. And so that's that's progress. you know, Maybe in another 15 years, people won't say things like that.
Right.
That is progress. Well, one of the, speaking of women and, what have changed the landscape of TV, I credit a lot to Shonda Rhimes, Paul. I mean, what is it like being in Shondaland? I mean, obviously private practice, but like Scandal, you were on Grey's Anatomy for a hot minute.
That was great. I mean, I went directly from Prison Break. I got private practice basically in the middle of season 2 of Prison Break once they told me they were going to kill me. So I rolled right into that. And it was a great place to be. I was on that show for 6 years with this just unbelievable group of people who bonded with one another. And what Shonda does so beautifully is puts people together to see what the chemistry is. And when the chemistry works, she knows where to lock it in. Like she's really the audience in a way. Like she's making TV she wants to see. And so when it feels right to her, and it obviously then feels right to the world usually, she really knows how to lay that track. And so she makes the world and the show she wants to see. And it was such a blessing to be a part of that. I mean, I was on that show for all those years. I'm incredibly close with so many of those people. I got to direct on that show. She really knows how to give people opportunities. And you really felt, I mean, obviously we were drafting behind the juggernaut of Greys, but you really felt like, oh, this person has changed the landscape forever. Like there's no going back, which was a really cool feeling to be a part of that.
It's a little bit of a Hamilton moment, isn't it? Like people will never cast the same way. They will never see television the same way.
And I don't know what it was like in the upper discussions, but we never heard about that. Like when I tested for Greys originally, I was testing against the same role, people of many different races. And when I was directing private, it didn't even say all ethnicity. It was just a given. It was never
an actor.
It was never specified that I saw. And that was, it was radical in its way,
That is radical. You were up for the Isaiah Washington role, right, on Grey's?
Yes,
You were not.
I was cast as that role.
What?
Yeah.
How am I just hearing about this?
Yeah. I was cast as that role. I did surgery. I did costume fittings, and I had already done a couple of weeks on a movie, and then the dates conflicted and they couldn't change it.
Oh my God.
So then I couldn't do it. I think Isaiah had originally read for McDreamy. Like it was one of those shuffle
Right.
things.
Okay.
So then I had to go away, and then Isaiah, and I'm not telling tales out of school. Everyone knows this story. So, and then Isaiah got the role, and then of course I didn't work, and just was like, oh no. And then did Prison Break, and then heard, oh, Shonda Rhimes wants to have a meeting with you. There's a spinoff of Greys. This is years later, obviously, 3 or 4
long
years.
time.
And then,
what's funny? So
in a wonderful way.
I worked with somebody almost in the reverse. I did a pilot for ABC the same year as the Greys pilot called The Secret Service.
Oh, yeah.
And it was, my joke is it's the only thing Kurtzman and Orsi ever did that failed.
Right.
Clark Johnson went from directing the pilot of The Shield, the pilot of The Wire, pilot of The Shield, and then The Secret Service. Clark and I are still friends, thank God. But Justin Chambers was on that. And I remember him showing up in an Escalade once, and I was like, oh my God, really? He's like, I have 5 children. I was like, oh no, get it, go for it. And he was like, I need to work. I need to make $100 million to put these kids through school. They did not pick up our pilot, but he was so good. And he was really, really wonderful in the Secret Service pilot, and just a wonderful human being.
Exactly.
Somebody at ABC saw it. And after they had shot and completely finished the Grey's Anatomy pilot, they cut him into it.
Right. I remember that. I remember
so if you look at Chambers, he's only ever in singles in the pilot.
Right. That's crazy.
And then he went on. I mean, is he still on the show?
No, he's not, but he was on it forever.
But he made his $100 million that he needed.
But it's also funny, how these things happen. They told me, we asked, are you going to kill me on Prison Break this year? Because we're kind of feeling that. And they ended up getting back to me and said, we're probably in like 4 episodes, da 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 da. I happened to have an episode off. So I went from Dallas to LA. I had an audition for a thing that one of our Prison Break directors, who I trailed, Sergio Mimica